Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Charity. If you're here for the first time, welcome. You're watching Booked on Charity. Please remember to subscribe to my channel down below, like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family. So today we are finally going to talk about the books that I read in April and May, because I have not done a wrap up in quite a bit. So and I've forgotten some of the books that I even read, so I'm gonna use Goodreads to kind of remind me what I read, and then I'll chat a little bit about the book and tell you what my rating was. So without wasting any time, in April I read 3 books. You guys, the last 2.5 months, including this month, has been so hectic in terms of workload that I'm not getting to my books. Like, I'm honestly not getting to my books. I'm reading maximum I think 3 books a month. If I get to 4, then I'm lucky. Today is the 16th of June and I've only completed 1 book this month. So yeah, it's not looking good in terms of numbers, but I think in terms of quality, I've read some pretty good books. So the first book that I read in April was The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and this is by Heather Morris. So this is based on the true story of Leil Sokolov, who was a Slovakian Jew, and he was imprisoned by the Nazis during the Holocaust. So what happened was that the Nazis declared that every male that's from the ages, I think 18 and onward, needs to report to the certain place so that they can be put in the workforce. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then we're gonna come after your family and kill them. And Leil was one of the men that went, but only to find that they were not really being called to be part of the workforce. They were being called to basically be imprisoned, and then you work certain jobs in the prison. Either you are interrogating other prisoners, either you are pushing paperwork if you're lucky. That's, I think a lot of the ladies would do that. Or you are part of the person who goes and burns the dead bodies, or you are, in Leil's case, the tattooist. So each and every prisoner had a number that they would tattoo on their arm. So initially Leil did not come into the prison as tattooist. What was he doing before? I think he was doing something else. He was doing other labors during the day, and it came to a time where he actually got really sick, and they almost threw him into the truck that carries all the dead. But the guys that he shared the cell with, they actually saved him, and they fed him and they nursed him back to health. And from that experience, Leil, I think, felt indebted to all these people, and he managed to get himself a position as a tattooist. Well, he was working with a senior tattooist, but he managed to get himself a position as a tattooist, and he was working that job, and that came with certain perks. Like, now he gets to have more meals a day, like 2 whole meals a day, and not 1 meal or 1.5 meal, cup of soup, whatever it was. But yeah, and he got to stay in a better cell, let's call it, because I guess it's a prison. So he got to stay in a better cell, he got better food rations, he got access to people in higher ranks than he would have, and he got access to also be free to move around buildings and so on. And he managed to find this father and the son who were builders, but they were not prisons, so they lived somewhere nearby. and he started trading things with them for food and nice delicacies. And he would use food to, like, he would use it to share with other people. He would use it to trade, to negotiate, because that became kind of like the currency. And he was just known as that guy who would, help out and do all these things. But yeah, this story is heartbreaking, you guys. It's heartbreaking. You can't go into this thinking you're gonna have a good time. It's not a good time. It is just an experience to learn a part of the story, basically. So yeah, I read this book. The writing style was good. It was easy to follow, and it didn't take quite so long to read. There's like 262 pages in here. There's even like pictures. He even met the love of his life in this prison, you guys. He met the love of his life in this prison, and he now had to protect her as well, and do anything and everything to like be with her and keep her safe and negotiate. And yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess, but yeah, I gave this book a 4 stars. The next book I read in April was Ace of Spades. So I read this on as an ebook on NetGalley. So I received an advanced copy from Osborne, and I read this book. So this actually only came in my mail like last week. So I'm definitely going to be rereading this book sometime this year. This book was so good. So it is sold as a cross between Gossip Girls and Get Out. So I've watched Gossip Girls. I loved Gossip Girls. After reading this book, I started watching Gossip Girls again. That's how good this book was. But I've never watched Get Out, which is okay. But yeah, in this book we follow 2 people, Devon and Chiamaka. So Devon and Chiamaka go to this really prestige, expensive school, all white school, that every 5-6 years they get about 2 students or so, 2 black students, to join the school. And Chiamaka joined the school. Chiamaka is mixed race. She comes from a white father and a Nigerian mother. And so she got into the school because she could afford to be in the school, right? And Devon got a scholarship to be in the school. So in this year that they're in now, something starts happening. So somebody starts blasting everybody's phones with secrets regarding Chiamaka and Devon. And now they're trying to figure out who's this person always attacking us. And some of these pictures are not even recent pictures. They're pictures from first year or in their second year, and they don't even remember some, like especially in Chiamaka's case. There was a time where they took a picture of her and she looked unconscious and drunk. So obviously she doesn't even remember that. So it means somebody basically took advantage of her. So they keep sending these photos and basically bullying them. And at first it seemed as if it was a little bit random, because it included other people, like other students were getting blasted as well. But then as time went on, you can see that this is very like narrowing to only Chiamaka and Devon. And I feel like I can't even say too much about this because I'm gonna start spoiling it. But this book deals with a lot of racism. It deals with a lot of hate. In this book you see how white people, in this case, misuse their power to basically torment the black students and put them through hell, and basically say to them, oh, you think you're so smart, you think you can make it, you are nothing, you can amount to nothing. So yeah, it's a very interesting read. It's a very heartfelt read, and yeah, it deals with very real and very current situations, because yeah, some of this nonsense that happened in here, I believe still happens even today, and yeah, it needs to stop. It needs to stop, y'all. But yeah, Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Yimide is really, really good. I hope I said her name correctly. But this cover is so pretty. I don't know if you can actually see that there's two faces here. That would be Chamaka and that will be Devon. And this book also includes queer characters. So it's perfect for a June read for those of you who have not yet picked it up and maybe have it in your possession, or maybe you have an ebook or whatever. But yeah, it has good queer representation and I loved it. I gave this book a definite 5 stars. I mean, it made me start binge watching Gossip Girls again. That's something. The other book I read was 10 Minutes 38 Seconds in a Strange World by Elif Shafak. So this book takes place in Turkey. This book we follow Layla, who grew up in a family that is very, very hectically religious, a family that still believes that women have a certain role in society, and that is not to go to school and be smart and have a career and all that. No, your job is to go to school up to a certain point, so that first of all, I mean, you must not be dumb, and you must be pretty, you must be well kept, so that you are more appealing for a suitor. So that is not the life that Layla wants. And I mean, the first part of the book is really heartbreaking, because this man who's the father of Layla, he had a first wife, right? And the first wife could not conceive, and therefore he went and married a younger wife. She got pregnant after a lot of miscarriages, after a lot of body trauma. She finally got pregnant, and then after she gave birth, they told her that she can't keep the baby, so the baby belongs to the older wife, the first wife, and this baby obviously is Layla. And yeah, it's heartbreaking. And this conversations about mental health, and they see in the way that they treat mental health, or the way that the family treats mental health, and they treat this woman like she's crazy. Like, to them, they don't treat it as mental health. It's just like, she's crazy, she sees things, nobody should believe what she says, and all of that. And she never got the opportunity to even learn to go to school or learn how to read. Like, Layla growing up had to even read sections of the newspaper for her to let her know what's happening around the world and all that. But yeah, basically Layla grew up thinking that her stepmother was her mother and her actual mother was her aunt. And yeah, I remember one of the chapters, the husband told her, oh no, you've been blessed with having a child, so definitely you can do it again. And it's like, you don't know how many miscarriages I had, you don't know how difficult this was, and you're telling me I can just do it again. And she did get pregnant again, but the son that she gave birth to had a medical condition that did not allow him to grow older than a certain age. So inevitably you knew that he was going to pass away at a certain time. And yeah, that shame. She, like, yo guys, she went through a lot of trauma. But anyway, the book follows Layla, right? From her death, actually. So in the beginning of the book, Layla dies, and after she dies, the 10 minutes and 38 seconds after she died, she starts having memories of her life, and some memories that she shouldn't even be having, like memories of her birth and all that. So this book basically explores what happens in your brain as you are busy dying, transitioning. So we go through all these memories that she's having, and it's memories of her growing up in her home, her ending up running away from home, and moving to, where did she move to? I forgot where she moved to, but I think this whole book is based in Turkey. I don't remember where she moved to. but she moved to the city. She moved to the city and she thought that she would have a better life there, but she ended up being sold to a prostitute house basically, and she basically had to start working as a prostitute from then on in, and she ended up making friends there. There's also a trans character in this book, so also another book that fits into June Pride Month. So yeah, I found this book, the writing style was not difficult to follow. However, there's a lot of cultural references and a lot of religious references that if you don't do your due diligence while reading the book, then you're gonna be lost. Okay, you're gonna be lost. But I think at the back of the book there's a glossary that helps you out with some of the terms, so that is nice. And yeah, and at the back they actually have this picture of the cemetery, so they call this the cemetery of the companion list. If you're unmarried, you get buried here. If you die and nobody comes to claim you, your family doesn't come to claim you, you get buried here. And that's exactly what happened to Layla. The parents refused to come and collect her because, like, you're a prostitute, you are a disgrace to the family, we don't want anything to do with you, so we're not even gonna bother. And it was her friends that she met in the prostitute houses that actually, you know, took the stand to do something about this. But yeah, it was an interesting read. It did get very slow somewhat in the middle, and I just wanted it to like pick up and like let's go. But yeah, I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads. The last book that I read in April was Being Lily by Kanita Loxton. I gave this book 3 stars. The writing style was easy to follow in this book, as always in her books. And in this book we follow Lily, who is about to get married to Owen, but life kind of throws a spanner in their works in the beginning of the book when Owen's ex moves to town with her 15-year-old daughter, and she's like, yo, I'm running away from my husband and he's abusive and all that, and I just want to start over, and I came here to this town because I found a job, but I need a place to stay, so you know, you need to house me. Basically, the story basically, it was a page turner for me in the beginning only because of the drama with the daughter. What is her name? Chiara. Only because of the drama with the daughter, but then also it's like too much drama for a 15-year-old, you know. And in the end the book felt very, very rushed. So obviously you know that they're Owen and Lily are about to get married. You have an ex thrown in there, and she even lives in our house. There's gonna be chaos, there's gonna be a whole lot of nonsense, and that's exactly what happened. And yeah, it was okay. It was an okay read, so I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it, like I said, because of the drama, and the drama was more so with the daughter, which is not the kind of drama you want. You wanted it really to be amongst the grown-ups, but the grown-ups were just like, nah. Did I have a favorite character in this book? Nah, I did not. Well, D was my favorite character for a little bit, but it's like, well, this book is not about her, but I feel like they just thrown in black character in here just for just. But yeah, anyway, I gave this book 3 stars, and that is all the books that I read in April. So on to my May wrap up. Hi, it's been 3 days since you guys last saw me. I know I'm wearing the same jersey because I'm trying to like keep the same look that I started this video with. But yeah, it's actually been 3 days since I have recorded the portion of my April wrap up, because my battery died, and then I ended up having to leave the house to do some errands and ended up working. So yeah, I never got the chance to do this. So here I am 3 days later trying to finish this wrap-up video, because honestly, you guys, so yeah, anyway, this portion of the video will be my May wrap-up. So I don't remember what I read, so I'm using Goodreads to help me remember. So I read 1, 2, 3, I read 4 books in the month of May. So the first book that I read was The Incredible Record Smashers, which I don't have a physical copy of. This was an e-arc that was sent to me by Usborne, and this is a middle grade book. So this book is by Jenny Pearson. I gave this book 5 stars, and I spoke very extensively about it in one of my vlogs, which I'll link maybe over here or in the description box below, so that you can watch that and get all of my thoughts. But I really loved this book. It was really entertaining, it was really funny, it talks about issues of mental health, and I like the way that the author handled that topic in a children's book. So I gave that book a 5 stars. The next book that I read was Pet by Akweki Emezi, which I also gave 5 stars, obviously. This book was really good. So I read Pet, that I gave 5 stars. So Pet talks a lot about issues of abuse, and so this book takes place in a place called Lucille, and Lucille has gotten rid of monsters. So when I went into this book, I had really no idea what it's about, and I thought that it spoke of real monsters, scary monsters. But I actually, reading the book, I found that monsters was a term used for people who commit crimes. So it could be murder, it could be rape, could be child abuse, whatever hurt that you are able to inflict on another person, you are called a monster. So Lucille worked really hard to get rid of all monsters. So Lucille was safe until one day when Jam's mother, Jam is our main character, who's an artist, painted something, and Jam went into her art studio and basically hurt herself and end up basically cutting herself and spilling blood on the painting. But what she didn't know is that her mother's painting had the experience of coming alive if there was blood spilled. So her mother painted this beast basically, which had the head of this and the horns of this and the fur of this. So it was something that did not really exist in real life, and it came alive. But this being is actually a monster hunter, and the idea is that it only comes out when there is a monster to hunt. And the people in Lucille have been living under this idea that, okay, we're not monsters anymore, they're never going to come back, you know, we've dealt with all the monsters. So everybody was kind of like in denial that there could be monsters. But then this monster hunter's like, that's the reason I'm here, there's no way that I'll be here if there isn't a monster. So in the whole book, basically we try and hunt this monster, see who this monster is, see who they're hurting, and try to protect that person. So I liked the idea of the story. The book was really written well. It was also written in patois that I'm always enjoying with Caribbean writers. So I really loved this book. I really enjoyed it. The third book I read was Being Shelly, and this is by Kanita Loxton. This is part of the Being series. The first being Kari, and then I read Being Lily. So this is the third installment. The writing style in the book was okay. Not as many dad jokes as in the other 2 books, but the story went nowhere. Like, this is a very short book, but it was such a slow burn. It took too long to get to the point. Like, there was repetitions, which I always hate when I'm reading books. and the characters were not very likable. Like, I liked no one in this book. I liked no one. Like, I just went through it. I just went through the motions. The only reason that I gave this book a 3 stars is because of the topics that were discussed in the book. So Kanita always loves talking about religion in her books, and this time we followed the Jewish religion. So we saw how Shelly really struggled with that because her husband is Jewish, and when they got married, the husband wasn't very Jewishy. It's not a word, but let's roll with it. The husband wasn't very religious. He wasn't a practicing Jew, let's say that. But when they have children, I think he started changing a little bit, and he wanted his kids to know that side of his life. So he started practicing the Jew religion and the cultures and all that, and now they started having this conflict because of that. She's having her own conflicts because she's in her late 40s, I think, and she's feeling old, and she's going on doing all these Botox and this tummy tucks and all these things to try and look young and feel young. And one day she meets this guy, Wade, who's really young. He's like in his early 20s, in a surf shop, and she gets all this excitement because Wade is young, Wade is flirtatious, Wade is making me feel young, and it's gonna go badly from the get-go. And there was really nothing to kind of look forward to in the book. You knew what was going to happen, well, except for the one part, but which I'm not going to mention because maybe it will be a spoiler. But you kind of knew where the story was going to go. There's really no surprise or anything. So yeah, the characters, yeah, like I said, I love no one. Shelly was annoying. At first, like, I really didn't like her, and then I tried not to be so judgy, and I really tried, and then at some point I felt bad for her, but no, she just annoyed me. I really didn't like her, so I ended up giving the book a 3 stars. And the last book that I read, let me just grab it, was my favorite read, and that was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So you guys, I don't even think I need to tell you what The Poppy War is about, but we follow Rin, who is a war orphan living with her foster parents, who are abusive. They basically use and misuse her. And one day they decide that they can make money from her by marrying her off to this businessman that they wanted to deal with, because they sell drugs, they sell opium, and they thought it would be such a great idea to marry her off, and then we can get business from this guy. And she was like, no way in hell am I gonna marry that old man. And she came up with a plan to basically leave her hometown, which is Tikani, to get a better life. And the only way she knew how to do that was to study for the Keiju. But the only trick was that the Keiju only selected the very, very top students, and a lot of the students started studying for the Keiju at a very, very young age. And she only literally had like 2 years to study for it. So she worked her butt off to literally study for the Keiju. She writes the Keiju, and she ends up being accepted into Sinagard. When you get accepted at Sinagard, you can go and you can study for free, and that's what happened. So she ended up in Sinagard, studied at Sinagard, and then war happened. I'm skipping through, but war happened, and a lot happened, and a lot of the things I was shocked about the whole time. And yeah, I have a reading vlog that I did, not specifically just for the Poppy War, but one of my weekly reading vlogs that, is it out? I don't even think it's out yet, but where I read the Poppy War and I express a lot of my thoughts on it. So check that out, because I don't want to repeat and get into that. But I really love the story. I loved it so much that immediately after reading this, I ordered The Dragon Republic, and I'm currently reading that right now. I loved it so much that when I started telling my husband about this book, he was like, I want to know as well. So we started listening to the audiobooks together while I physically read as well, and he's really loving the story, and he keeps saying he's just waiting for a series adaptation. And I try to Google online and people are saying there will be one, but I don't really know if there will. I don't know, but I'm hoping that there will be, and I will definitely watch this. There's a lot of trigger warnings in this book, so before you get into it, please do your research and see what you're in for. If you don't really care for much for that, then go in there blind like me and figure yourself out when you get to that point. Hence, I give this book a 5 stars. I would give it more stars if it was possible, but it ain't. So yeah, and that's the end of my wrap up. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this wrap up. I really appreciate it. Please remember to like this video, comment and share it with your friends and family, and also subscribe to my channel down below. I will leave my Bookstagram account that you can follow me on, so you can just click that link. I've got my Amazon and my Takealot Wishlist if you guys feel the need to support my channel any further. I've also have my Ko-fi and my PayPal account linked below as well. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.